Hello, welcome to JUBRIN ANGLE on Oweleke TV. My name is JUBRIN, and this is my angle. Thank you once again for joining me on this monologue. On this monologue, I shall be talking about Kemi Badenoch. Kemi Badenoch, we shall be talking about her in a good light, this time around on a positive note. There's a video, there was an interview she granted. An interview, I'm supposed to have made this monologue long ago, but I've been quite busy. Hence, just making the monologue right now. I think that this interview was about last week or last 2 weeks or thereabout. But I think I feel I need to actually make this monologue because the interview, everything she said there seemed to be cogent and timely, and they seem still remain potent. That is just it, sort of. So, let me play this video. This video, which I shall speak while we watch, as we interject from time to time. The video is not long, but yeah, I will be in touch because the points there are a whole lot of different points that she made there. And I would like to actually talk about. And yeah, okay, let's go.
Let's start with our first leadership candidate, the Shadow Housing and Community Secretary, Kemi Badenoch. Ms. Badenoch, if you were leader of the Conservative Party this morning and a potential Prime Minister, what would you be saying to our allies, particularly the Israelis?
I would be congratulating Prime Minister Netanyahu. I think what they did was extraordinary. Israel is showing that it has moral clarity in dealing with its enemies and the enemies of the West as well. Hezbollah is a terrorist organization, and I think that being able to remove the leader of Hezbollah, as they did, will create more peace in the Middle East.
Does that mean that you are ready to give the Israelis a free pass? Pager bombs, airstrikes, all of the rest of it?
It's not about a free pass, but Israel does have a right to defend itself. It is a small country surrounded by a lot of people who don't like it. Many of them have fled from those countries. Many Jewish people have fled from neighboring countries. Israel is their safe haven. And if we look at what happened on October 7th, we can see that they cannot be complacent. They have to do what they need to do to defend themselves and, quite frankly, to survive.
So no red lines for Israel?
Of course, there will be red lines. We have international law for that. But as far as I saw when I was Trade Secretary, those lines were not crossed, and it was quite clear that the IDF and the Israeli government were doing everything they could to protect civilian lives. That doesn't mean that no civilian life would be lost. And of course, we understand that the Palestinian people in particular are suffering. This is very difficult for them. But we need to remember that the aggressor here is Hamas.
Honestly, this is a breath of fresh air coming from the UK. UK has been actually fast sliding towards the liberal part of policy or politics. In fact, they are, I think, farther than the US. US under Joe Biden has been so crazy when it comes to liberalism. But UK, I don't know. I think UK is farther down there than the US. UK is so crazy. Honestly, it is. Everything there, everything in the UK right now is just tilting towards a liberal part of the society, and that's just the unfortunate situation. So, hearing Kemi, most conservatives that I know in the UK, they don't come out blazing the way she just did. They don't come out unambiguous the way she just did. They always come out in a vague way to support Israel, support Netanyahu. This is the most aggressive I have heard. Most aggressive when it comes to Israel I have heard lately, especially coming from the UK. Honestly, it's a fresh air. It's a breath of fresh air coming from the UK. And again, let me talk about Kemi Badenoch. Look, she's so smart. She's in, of course, for her to be conservative leader in the UK. He just can't be a dumb ass to be a conservative leader in the UK. You must be very smart for at her age and a lady. Okay, anyway, UK, they are used to women actually leading them. So it's not new. It's normal thing to them. So, but honestly, Kemi is a smart, very, very smart lady, very intelligent, very charismatic, very eloquent, and seem to be consistent as well. My odd against her is this issue of, I don't get it. Why? Usually people like her, conservatives like her, she sounds like a core conservative person, because I seem to follow all her, because I am a conservative person too. So I agree with her in most of her policies. The ones that I have had so far, we are 100%. We're 100% in line with each other. That's just, I agree with her and I believe her. But I don't know, but people with her kind of ideology, political leaning, because a typical conservative does not always believe. That's what conservatism is. Conservatism is just sticking to the old ways of doing things, sticking to the standard, sticking to they don't. A conservative find it difficult to evolve. They just want to do things in a constitutional and old-fashioned way. They believe in that old-fashioned lifestyle, policies, etc. So, and that is just the reality. So, for her to have such kind of, she's a conservative by idea, by ideology, yet critical of her background, where she was born, or where she was because she was born in the UK, bred in Nigeria, where she originally came from. That it is, she, like, I made the last video I made of her about her. I use this word, a conflict with herself. I think she's conflicting to herself. That's the way I see it. And Barrister Manta, is it Barrister Manta or someone actually probably projected that she may be doing it for political reason. She just want to dig further and grow up the ladder, at least get to the pinnacle of her political career. If she doesn't do that, but honestly, again, I said that is the more reason. What she is doing is the reason. Is if she continues in doing such, she will not get to that point. That is the point. I understand when it comes to power, you do so many things, but not projecting an impression of hypocrisy. If you project an impression of disloyalty and hypocrisy, obviously you can't get there, because people will understand what you are trying to do. We understand that you are trying to manipulate the system, manipulate the population, manipulate the polity. That is just the reality. So honestly, she's really on point with this. Nobody has been so dogged, so radical on the support of Israel and Netanyahu specifically. My God, she's unequivocally supported Netanyahu. This is a breath of fresh air. Let's continue.
This is what Israel is trying to destroy, as well as Hezbollah, of course.
All right. In the contest that for the Tory leadership, perhaps the first task is to work out what went wrong. Why did you lose? Looking back at the campaign, do you feel that actually you deserved to lose?
Well, I don't think that we deserved to win. People didn't understand what we stood for. I often tell people that we were talking right and governing left. An example of that is increasing lots of prison sentences, but we didn't get round to building prison places for all sorts of reasons. And from the public's perspective, it looked like we weren't delivering. We need to be able to show that we will do what we say and that we also say what we mean. That's what I want to bring to the contest. I have cut through because I speak with conviction and clarity. The public want that. The public want to know what conservatism is about.
Well, we'll come back to the issue of your cut through and all that in a second, but you said that no one knew what you stood for. Let me put what I think might be the real problem here, which is that the public knew exactly what you stood for. Parties under Boris Johnson, market chaos under Liz Truss and record immigration figures under Rishi Sunak. That's what the public read. They knew what you're about, and that's why they voted. They didn't vote for you.
I disagree. Of course, there will always be problems in any government. Keir Starmer has barely been in 100 days, and he's already mired in sleaze and accusations of corruption. He's lost a Labour MP. We will always have these things. Every Prime Minister, you go back to John Major, had them. But if you look at some of the examples that you gave, on immigration, we tried and kept...
And failed.
Exactly. That's what I mean by talking right and governing left, that we were not delivering. If we tell people that we're going to do something, we need to make sure that we do it.
But the problem is that the public saw all of these examples and they understood that actually you had all the big...
You see, this is another thing that politicians are not used to. Promising something and not doing... promising something and doing it. This is where Donald Trump stands out. The entire 4 years of Donald Trump, all he promised that's why I consider him as the best president US ever had. He's the best. Because no president fulfilled all his campaign promises. Donald Trump did not only fulfill all his campaign promises, he even went far and above what he promised to fulfill. That is just it. And that is what Kemi Badenoch stands for. And that is why she's being blunt about why. I like her bluntness, actually, of her bluntness against her party. That actually they deserved not to win. They deserved not to win because one of the reasons is because they did not accomplish, they did not fulfill their mandate. They did not fulfill, their party did not fulfill the promises they made to the public. That is just the reality, and that is just it. So if she is this frank and direct, if she is this raw and aggressive in her criticism of herself, because if she's criticizing her party, she is technically criticizing herself. Man, this is a virtue. I consider that a virtue. That means such person, people like that can be considered to be principled. They can be considered to be straightforward. My problem is that, like again, that's why I said this lady seemed to be conflicting to herself because my only odd against her is this issue of denial of Nigeria as a Nigerian. That is just her roots, her background, her foundation. That is my problem with her. Other than that, she's just a perfect lady that I really, really would have loved. I still like her. There's no doubt about that because I like her policies. I like her ideas. So, and that is what she just mentioned now. That is promise. She believes in promise whatever you promise as a politician, when you get to office, when people elect you, fulfill that promise. And that is the point. And I like that.
Talk, but actually you didn't deliver. You didn't deliver on the economy, you didn't deliver on immigration, and actually you didn't deliver on integrity and good conduct in government. I
think the question to ask is, why didn't we deliver? It wasn't because we didn't want to. It is because we were not starting from first principles. This is what I'm bringing to this campaign. It's how I'm different from the other candidates. I'm not standing, throwing out lots of new policy and saying, this time we'll do this. What I believe we need to do now is to earn the trust of the British people again. And that means starting with principles. What do we believe in? Personal responsibility. We haven't talked about those things as much. Freedom, freedom of speech, freedom of association, free markets. We stopped talking about principles. That's what people buy into when they're voting for a political party, not just what latest managerial policy you might be throwing out.
Well, this is very interesting because actually you've already gotten onto ground which people associate with you. You were both the Secretary of State for Business and Trade and also the Minister for Equalities. Is it a matter of regret to you that hardly anybody remembers what your main job was because what you say on these other issues, identity politics and so on, drowned all that out?
It certainly was the case that even a passing comment on equalities would get a front-page news. And, you know, you sign trade deals, you deliver, you know, a transformation for steelworks in Port Talbot. It's a tiny little thing in at the bottom of a newspaper. I can't help that. What I can say is that every aspect of my job, whether it was business secretary, whether it's trade secretary or equalities minister, I got stuff done. When things are broken, I fix them, and that's what I want to do with the party.
Well, actually, you bear some responsibility. I mean, and I'm complimenting you here, that your capacity to attract public attention is pretty much unrivaled. You said this morning in the Telegraph something which I think is going to attract some attention.
I'm sure it will.
Yeah. Well, indeed. You talked about, it's about immigration, and what you talk about is not the numbers, but the nature of immigration and immigrants. And you say, I am struck, for example, by the number of recent immigrants to the UK who hate Israel. That sentiment has no place here. Which immigrants are we talking about?
Well, people who come from countries where Israel is seen as an enemy. I remember growing up in Nigeria as a young child that people talked about Israel with a lot of positivity. What I didn't know is that in the northern part of the country, which was heavily Muslim, people spoke in a completely different way. And I also remember 10 years ago when 300 girls were stolen from school and taken away by Islamist terrorists. It resonates with what happened on October 7th. And so I'm always shocked by the number of people who are unable to sympathize with those victims, people who are ripping down posters. I think that's extraordinary. Missing children's posters being ripped down because people hate the country. I don't think that has any place here.
It's interesting, you know, you make a virtue of your plain speaking and so on, but you evidently mean, when you say the number of recent immigrants who hate Israel, you evidently mean Muslim immigrants. Why didn't you just say that?
Because it's not all Muslim immigrants. And this is what I don't do. I'm very careful when I speak. I've met many Muslim people who love Israel. I met them in the Middle East. When I went to Saudi, when I went to the UAE, you know, you look at the Abraham Accords, there are many people in the Middle East who want to support Israel. I remember reading, after this assassination of the Hezbollah leader, loads of people from Arab countries who were actually very pleased. That man caused chaos in Syria. So it is not all Muslims, but there are some, those who buy into Islamist ideology, political Islam, they do not like Israel. And we need to be able to distinguish between the two. That's why I don't just use a word that brings so many people into the group.
You also say in this article, we need to demand those who come here love this country. How would you know? Are you thinking of reviving Norman Tebbett's cricket test?
No, that's not how you do it. That's not how you do it.
Well, how would you know?
Well, you have to demand it. You have to demand it. If you don't ask people for something, then they're unlikely to give it. We can't just assume that people will come into the country and just naturally love it. Other countries demand it. When you move to other countries, they demand that you believe in the place. They demand that you commit to it. We are the ones who act as if our country is just a dormitory and people can pass through. I don't believe that. This is my home, and I want to defend it.
But my same question, though, how would you know? And by the way, why would it matter to an employer whether his star engineer, who comes from Bangalore, loves Britain or not, as long as he does a good job?
It doesn't...
That's the best way of showing that he likes Britain, to do a good job for us, isn't it?
Yes, but it is not the employer's job to control immigration. It is government's job, and it should matter to government and to government ministers. Obviously, it's not something that you ask at the border and say, do you love the UK? It is something that you create as an expectation. This is how you drive culture. It's not through forms or through tests. It is through what the leaders say and do, and the legislation that we put in place to follow that up.
All right. One of the things that Conservative members and MPs will be looking at is the issue of character. Now, how can I put this?
This is going to be an awkward question, isn't it? This is going to be an awkward question.
No, not at all. You know, I'm very nice. David Tennant, Narendra Doris, former Post Office Chair Henry Thornton, just three of the many individuals whom you've exchanged angry words publicly. You evidently like a row, but what is it about you that provokes people?
I don't know. I guess it must be just being somebody who's very forthright. I mean, what's interesting about all those three people is there I was, being nice, minding my own business, and then they came after me. But what I will not do...
You weren't nice to David Tennant. You were not nice to Narendra Doris.
Yeah, but he asked me to shut up. Why is it that people worry about someone who talks back? They don't like it when women talk back. They don't like it when politicians talk back. I will talk back. I will not stand there and let people punch me. If you swing at me, I will swing back. But I don't look for fights.
Can I just ask you very quickly this question? You grew up in a country, Nigeria, politics is pretty direct, even pugnacious.
It's pretty brutal.
Yeah. Are you just too Nigerian for British politics?
I doubt that. Nigerians tell me that I'm too British. I'm just Kemi, really. I'm something that's just different and unique, and that's why I stand out in this contest, and I think that's why the members like me.
Kemi Badenoch, thank you very much indeed. Badenoch, I should get this right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, that's it. Honestly, Kemi, like I said, she's a brilliant lady. I used to call her girl until I later found out that she's a mother of 3 children, married, and so a wife and a mother. So that makes usually I have I think differently of women who are married and not just married but have kids. So I give them special kind of respect, and even if they are young enough to be my daughter, I give them just very special respect. That is just because I just love women who are family oriented, especially public figures who are family oriented. I've seen so many public figures who just believe that marriage is not their own, it's not their thing, they cannot be or whatever. But Kemi seemed to be, when I realized that she's a mother and a wife, well, that gave me a different impression of her, like I said, the only issue I have with her is just, and I'll keep having that issue with her, is this issue of her denying her root, her foundation. I can never ever admit to that. I can never accept that, and I'll keep criticizing her on that or whatever. So, and I believe because Nigerians really came against her, so many of us, why some people supported her, but many people came against. I don't think she wants to be on the social media negatively that way again. So I think she's done with this issue of denying her. She just like I said, someone said she did it for political reason, but I don't believe she did it. This lady, she's just too smart to do this nonsense, to do all this nonsense, and she's too frank. I think that is just her nature. She's frank, and probably just like what she said, that is the reason why people, she's a controversial. Anybody that is frank will always be a controversial person. If you are frank and you hit the nail on the head, you are aggressive with your thoughts, and you say it the way it is, you are unglued and uncensored when you are speaking, or you are speaking, analyzing issues. Obviously, you will be a controversial person. People will always come after you to criticize. I think that is the kind of person Kemi Badenoch is. So I think I like that side of her, being frank. I love people who are frank, who says it the way, especially the way she just talk about Israel in UK now. No, politicians don't want to talk about Israel. They don't. Even the ones that talks about it, they will talk about it in a negative light to attract support and patronage, sort of. But for her to do it and do it the other way by 100% being on the side of not just Israel. Wow, Benjamin Netanyahu is not popular in the West. Every people knows that. But but most conservatives, if not all, of course, if you are a conservative, definitely you'll be on the side of Israel. You'll be on the side of Netanyahu, and that is just the reality, because Netanyahu too is a conservative. Kemi, kudos to you. I hope and I wish and I pray that you become the Prime Minister of the UK, even though that will not benefit us. When you were the trade minister, trade secretary, it never benefited. During your trade secretary, when you were trade secretary, we couldn't even, our airline couldn't even gain traction. Air Peace lost. There are so many of the airlines who bidded for that route, that Lagos-London route. Nobody, you were there when Onyema almost lost the whole thing, and even when he got the bid, it was being up to now is still being persecuted. So Kemi becoming Prime Minister will not benefit Nigeria anything. If there is anything, it will be negative to Nigeria, because she seemed to have expressed disdain for Nigeria as a nation, and not just Nigeria as a nation, disdain for Nigerians as well, because you cannot. She has not only disassociated herself from Nigeria, she has disassociated herself from Nigerians as well. She seemed to be avoiding Nigerians, as someone will avoid a plague. That is just the reality. So, but personally, I just like her. I like people who are conservatives, who are smart and eloquent and charismatic. She seemed to have everything, and she's a beautiful lady as well. She seemed to have everything, and going on for at a very young age, just 43, is it 42 or 43 or so? So that is great for her. So I wish her well, and I pray she becomes the Prime Minister of the UK. Not for anything, but for our own betterment, sort of, because she seemed to. I think she possesses some good qualities of. I think she can be a good, because she's someone. She seemed to be herself, not under anyone's control. She seemed to be very independent. That's good. As a politician, though, that's okay. That's fine. All right. Thank you so much, viewers. I hope you enjoy this, and if you do, please subscribe and follow us on all our social media platforms. Sorry, I don't do this all the time, because I don't know, for whatever reason. Maybe because I don't do this for a living. I just do this as just a hobby. So, but that notwithstanding, of course, we need we need followers, we need audience, a sort of. So, because the more we get, the more the audience, the more we have the sense of belonging to actually that at least we get encouraged to do more. And that is just it. So thank you so much once again, and remain blessed as I come to you again next time.